Hello guys, welcome to my class, Busy's classes. Today I am going to take up one important lesson from your alternative English prescribed textbook by Assam Higher Secondary Education Council. VIBGYOR. The name of the lesson is The Verger, written by Somerset Maugham. About the author. Somerset Maugham was one of the most popular British writers of the early 20th century. Though he began his career as a physician, he gave up his profession in order to become a full-time writer. After tasting success with his very first novel, Liza of Lambeth, published in 1897. Among all his works of human bondage is considered a masterpiece. Some of Maugham's other remarkable works include The Moon and Sixpence, Cakes and Ale, Razor Age. Maugham also has to his credit several short story collections such as Orientation, Ascendant, The Book Bag, and The Mixture as Before. Here the story, The Verger. The Verger is a short story which was first published in 1929 and was later included in a collection titled The Cosmopolitans, published in 1936. It describes the circumstances under which Albert Edward Foreman, the Verger of St. Peter's, Neville Square, lost his job. Foreman was a dignified person who had served the church for 16 years. He had ascended to the respectable office of the Verger by dint of his dedicated service. Subsequently, with the appointment of the new vicar, who represented the educated modern generation, the eligibility of the Verger, who apparently belonged to the old school, was challenged. The long years of dedicated service and an equally strong base of wisdom gathered from experience were disregarded by the vicar, who gave the Verger an option to learn the letters, failing to do which the letters would lose his job. Quite surprisingly, the Verger refused to take the offer and preferred to resign, believing that it was too late now to learn. The story takes an interesting turn when the Verger, after resigning from his respectable office due to his lack of education, becomes a rich man. This reflects how practical thinking, dedication, and hard work go a long way in strengthening one's position. Qualities that were seemingly found wanting in the vicar. The Verger is remarkable for its simplicity, irony, and touch of realism. Now we'll try to explain the story in some detail while reading out the lines. There had been a christening that afternoon at St. Peter's Neville Square, and Albert Edward Foreman still wore his Verger's gown. He kept his new one. Its fold as full and stiff, though it was made not of alpaca but of perennial bronze. For funerals and weddings, St. Peter's Neville Square was such much favoured by the fashionable for his ceremonies. And now he wore only his second best. So, a christening was going on in the St. Peter's Church, Neville Square, and Albert Edward Foreman was still wearing his Verger's gown. This church was famous for funerals, weddings and christening and such ceremonies. And this was a favorite spot for fashionable congregation. Albert Edward Foreman has been the Verger of St. Peter's for a long 16 years. And he had a succession of such Verger's gown during this period. But he considered his Verger's gown as a dignified symbol of his office. He could never throw them away, even they are torn out. Even they are torn off, he folded all of them and ironed it himself and kept them at the lower drawer of his table. And that day he was wearing only his second best. He loved his dress, and whenever he had to put off his Verger's gown to go home, he felt some sort of dissatisfaction. He felt that he was insufficiently clad, that he was not properly dressed. So, this is what is going on that day in the church, St. Peter's Neville Square, and Verger was busy doing the course. Then he thought that the new vicar, who had only recently come to join the church, but he describes the new vicar as a red-faced, energetic man in the early 40s. A clergyman and Albert Edward still regretted his predecessor, a clergyman of the old school, who had preached leisurely sermons in a silvery voice and dined out a great deal with his more aristocratic parishioners. He liked things in church to be just so. But he never fasted. He was not like this new man who wanted to have his finger in every pie. But Albert Edward was tolerant. That means Albert Edward Foreman was not at all happy with the new vicar, because he wanted to interfere in everything, in every detail of the church, in each and every matter of the church. He still regretted the leaving of the old vicar who belonged to the old school, and he gave his sermon in a silvery voice and would dine out with his aristocratic parishioners. But the new vicar was a sort of a modern man, modern vicar sort of, but still Albert Edward Foreman was tolerant. And thought that with passage of time, this new vicar will also learn the discreet ways of this church. And when the vicar had walked down the aisle so far as he could address the verger without raising his voice more than was becoming in a place of worship, he stopped. "Foreman, will you come into the vestry for a minute? I have something to say to you." "Very good, sir." The vicar waited for him to come up, and they walked up the church together. "A very nice christening," I thought, sir. "Funny how the baby stopped crying the moment you took him." The verger came to him, the new vicar came to Albert and asked him to come to vestry. And they both together went to the vestry. And he praised the new vicar for the nice christening that day and for his talent. The verger knew that he liked praise for his talent because he could easily quieten a nagging baby whenever he took a baby in his lap. A whimpering infant, he could easily quieten a whimpering infant whenever he took him or her in his lap. So that was his talent, and he liked praise from anyone for his talent. So the verger knew that, and verger praised him for that extraordinary talent. "I have noticed they very often do," said the vicar with a little smile. "After all, I have had a good deal of practice with them." It was a source of subdued pride to him that he could nearly always quiet a whimpering infant by the manner in which he held it, and he was not unconscious of the amused admiration with which mothers and nurses watched him settle the baby in the crook of his surplused arm. The verger knew that it pleased him to be complimented on his talent. And along with the new vicar, verger went into the vestry. But verger was a little surprised when he saw two church wardens sitting over there. Because he had not seen them come in. And he greeted both of them and took his seat. Both the church wardens looked as if they were not happy, as if they were disturbed by something. They were disturbed by something. They were elderly men, both of them, and had been church wardens almost as long as Albert Edward had been Verger. They were sitting now at a handsome refectory table that the old vicar had brought many years before from Italy, and the vicar sat down in the vacant chair between them. Albert Edward faced them, the table between him and them, and wondered with slight uneasiness what was the matter. He still remembered the occasion on which the organist had got in trouble, and the boarder, they all had to hush things up. In a church like St. Peter's, Neville Square, they couldn't afford scandal. And now the Verger was wondering what might be the matter. The new vicar still looked stubborn and very calm. He was not disturbed at all. The Verger told him that he had discovered an extraordinary thing. The extraordinary thing was that Albert Edward Foreman did not know how to read and write. He was a completely illiterate person. But for a fashionable church like St. Peter's, Neville Square, they could not afford an illiterate Verger to continue in his office. It is the most extraordinary thing that he said that he had observed in this case. So he said that he talked to the church wardens, and they had all decided that these sort of things could not be allowed to go on forever. So they decided to give him a 3 months time to learn reading and writing. So he said that we will give you 3 months time to reading and writing. If within these 3 months, if you can read and write, then you will be allowed to remain in your own post. Otherwise, we would have no option. We would have no way, but you will lose your job of the Verger. So it came as a thunderbolt. It came as a thunderstorm to Albert Edward Foreman. He had been there for long, 16 years. Before joining the church, he was a page boy in respectable places. And for long 16 years, he always performed his duties to the satisfaction of everyone, and which was admitted by the new vicar also. Now the challenge came that he had to learn reading and writing at this age after 16 years of satisfactory service in the same church. But now he is in danger of losing his job. So this is the first part. This is the first part of the video, this class, and in the next part we'll complete the story, because if we continue now it will be longer and it would be inconvenient for you as well as me. So we'll end here. Next time, in the next class, we'll try to complete the story, and also we'll try to discuss questions and answers. Thank you.